my identity was based on problem solving. I was very proud that you could come to me very quickly and I could look at a situation and I could find a solution for the problem. That was my whole persona. My whole personality was, you come to me, I'll solve your problem. But what I didn't understand at the time was that I was actually holding everybody back, including myself, because then no one takes initiative, no one has autonomy, and they basically just push everything on you, which makes you work harder. You have a higher workload and you get frustrated with everyone because you're like, why can't you just do these things? And you train them to say, come to me because I'll give you an answer in a minute or two.
Welcome to Push to Be More with me, your host, Matt Edmondson. This is a show that talks about the stuff that makes life work. And to help us do just that, today I am chatting with my very special guest, Brendon Macdonald, all the way from Madrid, about where he has had to push through, what he does to recharge his batteries and to be, as well as what he's doing to be more. Now, the show notes and transcript from my conversation with Brendon are going to be available on our website, pushtobemore.com. And whilst you're there checking those out, make sure you sign up for the newsletter, because each week we will email you the links and the notes from the show straight to your inbox automatically. It's free, it's easy, so why not sign up? Now, this episode is brought to you by Orion Media, which helps entrepreneurs and business leaders set up and run their own successful podcast. Brendon, you know what? I have found running my own podcast to be super rewarding. It opens doors to amazing people like nothing else I have seen. I've built networks, made friends, had a platform to champion my customers, my team, and my amazing suppliers. And I think just about any entrepreneurial business leader should have a podcast, because it has had a huge impact on my own business. And of course, that sounds great in theory, but in reality, there's a lot of technical stuff to think about. There's strategy to think about. I mean, the list goes on, which is why so many people don't actually do it. You see, I love talking to people, but I don't really enjoy all that other stuff, if I'm honest. So Orion Media, they take it all off my plate, which is amazing. I do what I'm good at, and they brilliantly take care of the rest. So if you're wondering if podcasting is a good marketing strategy for your business, do connect with them at aurionmedia.com. That's AURION media.com. And we will, of course, link to them on the website and in the show notes as well. Now, let's put all that aside. Let's focus on today's guest. Brendon is an astute problem solver who strives for excellence and executes plans with care and determination. He inspires others with his discerning nature and conscientious, measured approach. Brendon is a sales and marketing director at Digital Smile Design, also known as DSD, where he took this position when it was acquired by Yellow VDub, his sales and marketing agency, back in 2018. Yellow VDub was a full-service sales and marketing agency in 2015, specializing in the dental market. That was a pivot that Brendon made. Before this, he was involved in several media consulting and e-commerce businesses, focusing and specializing in the global health sector. He has extensive experience in brand and online digital strategies in the B2B and B2C healthcare and e-com sectors. He has a Bachelor of E-commerce from Rhodes University and worked in investment banking for a number of years before starting his own business, Yellow VDub, which is an interesting story in itself, why it was called Yellow VDub. I've known Brendon now for a few years, so I'm looking forward to this. Brendon, great to have you. Thanks for coming onto the podcast, man. How you doing?
Great, Matt. Thanks for having me on the podcast. Looking forward to our discussion today.
Yeah. Normally we have great conversations. I just never record them, and you kind of go and you're like, oh bugger, I should have recorded that. But yeah, it's interesting. So tell me, I guess, a bit about Yellow VDub, how DSD acquired it, and why you are in Madrid.
Yeah, great question, and happy to share. I think Yellow VDub was a marketing agency. We started a very interesting story. My wife and I have been in business for a very long time, so over 10 years. And we, in 2008, when the big crash happened with the whole world, with Lehman Banks starting the run on everything, My wife was working in a publishing company, an American publishing company, and they had some scientific publications. One was a
Yeah.
dental one, and the other one was a separation science. You know, the CSI program. That was
Yeah.
that.
Loved it. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously in 2008, the American company obviously went through some issues. So they kind of left Europe and they just left all their titles there. And so everybody who remained in that part of the world kind of inherited these titles where they had like the dental publication had like 60,000 paid subscribers. And so the directors of that company all got together. My wife was part of that process. And I was just transitioning out of another business. So I had time on my hands. So I started to sell advertising in their magazine because it was a magazine publication.
Yeah.
And basically, long story short, me and my wife ended up buying the other partners out in the dental publication.
Oh, wow.
And so we were running that publication, and we were finding it harder and harder to sell advertising space because digital was just about when all the big social media, Facebook and all that were becoming quite popular, and that advertising was coming up. And so, yeah, we were just plodding along, just the two of us. And then we saw an advert by a prominent dental business coach. And he said, I need someone to do my social media. And we had been phoning all the big suppliers trying to sell ads, full page ads in our magazine. And it was
Wow.
It was becoming much harder. And I had a couple conversations with the suppliers saying, you know, this thing, social media or this Facebook, do you guys do that? Because we're just about to spend this amount of money with this agency to do our social media. And I was asking for a fraction and I was suffering and they were considering spending so much more. So it kind of coincided with we need to get into social media marketing.
Yeah.
And then this advert happened. And so we replied and said, of course we do that. Please think of us. And we were hired. And as soon as we hired, we went and did our first social media course. I remember looking online, trying to think, okay, how do you do the social media thing? And then that's how Yellow VW was born, essentially we got very lucky. The business coach would go into a dental client, and it was at the time when you needed to do social media. And they said, oh, I know a great agency. And then kind of through word of mouth, we grew our client base very quickly. And then we had to start to hire people. And then Yellow VW was a social media marketing agency for a couple of years. And then again, same thing. We struggled to get results. They started to taper off as the social work started to mature and started to charge you. You have to do paid media. So we kind of evolved into the full service agency because we were kind of having to start to do websites, have to do Facebook ads, do all the things that we needed to do to get results. And that's how we kind of evolved from postings, Facebook posts, to doing brand, websites, digital marketing, and everything. And that's how we specialized in dental, was because we just had over 50 dental clients. And so we became experts in how to find patients for the dentists.
Yeah.
And DSD was one of those clients. We met them in 2012 and we stayed with them. And then they had a big deal that they did. And part of their strategy to kind of expand was to bring marketing in-house for their network. And that's how Yellow VW kind of was approached. They liked what we did. And they said, come join us. And that's what we did. And so now my family, we live in Madrid because that's where they're headquartered. And yeah, enjoying the ride so far.
During the ride so far. So it sounds, I mean, it's a heck of a journey, you know, and all the twists and turns that it takes. And, you know, one of the things I've always admired about you and your wife, Marita, just the ability just to up sticks and move to a different part of the world. Because it's not the first time you've moved and lived in a different country, is it?
No, it's not. No, we moved in 2005. We moved from Southern Africa. So my wife's from South Africa. I'm from Zimbabwe. And the situation in Africa was what it was. And so we had to move. And so, yeah. But I think we're good now. I think we're
kind of settled. Your kids speak Spanish fluently. You maybe not so much, so?
Yeah. I have a family that speaks Spanish except me. So I've got 3 translators, which is great. And I'm a little bit ashamed to say it's been 2 years and I haven't learned anything, but that's because I've been pretty busy. So
yeah. Pretty big. So what's it like when you've got this agency, you've got your own agency, and then you get approached by DSD. You go through the negotiations. They in effect take you over, buy you out. What was that like? What was some of your thinking at that point? Because I mean, this is in some respects what a lot of business people dream about, right? It's the exit. It's the how do I build this to sell it? And so you've done what a lot of people dream about. And I'm kind of curious, what was it like back then when you were approached? What was your thinking like?
I think, transparently speaking, it was something that I could see was going to happen. It was starting because I was part of the conversations with DSD and their plans, so I could see it coming a long way off. And if I'm being honest, Yellow VW, although successful, it was very tough to run the business. It was super stressful. When you're an agency owner, effectively on your own, and cash flow is a constant battle. It was always a battle for us. We never had the amount of cash flow that we needed to kind of scale to get to a place. So I felt with Yellow VW, I had hit a glass ceiling, and I didn't know, and I know now what I should have done in the past. But at that moment in time, I was completely clueless, and I just felt kind of stuck because for about 2 to 3 years, we were growing, but we weren't growing to what we needed. We couldn't attract the right talent, or we didn't have it was kind of the chicken or the egg situation. It was like, we need better people, but we can't afford to pay those people. So I was in that cycle with Yellow VW. And so the honest truth, it was a relief. Because obviously it kind of took the burden of trying to break through the glass ceiling away from me.
Yeah.
And the process was fairly straightforward, because if I'm being honest, the value of Yellow VW wasn't hard to work out the value. So I can imagine if the agency was a lot bigger and there was a lot more value involved, it would be a lot more complicated process. But it was very straightforward what they wanted, what size we were. So I think we were the right size to be acquired by DSD, if that makes sense. I will say that I did have huge reservations, because I don't think I'm a very good employee. I don't think anyone should hire me. So I was really concerned about that, to be honest. Their idea of, you now have to communicate with a group of individuals, and they might not necessarily agree with your direction. So there was a lot more. You have to improve your communication skills, because now when you're running the business effectively with one or two main business leaders, but you make all the decisions normally, to go into an environment where there's 10 people that also make the decision. That was something that I was really weighing on my mind. I was like, will I survive? Will this be something that I can adjust and adapt to? And it's kind of part of the process of how I changed and evolved for the better, to be honest. Because when you're kind of stuck by yourself, making all the shots, making all the calls, you don't have to develop those skills. It's just, you just make the decision and you move forward. And there's no negotiation, there's no discussion, there's no kind of debate. If be told, it's just like, I want to do this, and we're going to do this. I feel it's right, and we're going to move forward. So that was kind of the only thing that I struggled with in the first year, when I started the process of kind of working with DSD and winding down the business in Yellow VW. Because what we did was, we became the agency for their network, but we had some existing clients, so we had to offboard them over time. And there's a focus on the DSD. So it was a transitional period of, we still made money, but eventually after 1 year, we needed to stop all those contracts and then focus on DSD clients and their networks.
So this transition then takes about a year, where you go from being the owner to being an employee. And it's fair to say, I mean, you're quite involved in DSD, right? You are the head of marketing there. It's not like you went from hero to zero or anything. I mean, you took a fairly reasonable role in the company, right?
Yeah, it was part of the process of, because I was very transparent with their leadership, saying, I have concerns about this idea of just kind of being part of the workforce and not having any direction or say or kind of input in what the strategy and the directives would be. And we kind of struck a deal where I'm now part of the board of directors, and we took some equity, small piece of equity, not massive, and that kind of helps. That it helps the transition phase, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah. So you still own him, sort of part of what you're building. So
Yeah, exactly.
So this transition then. So you had to learn to communicate, and you mentioned that there was stuff that you didn't know then, but you now know. What else would you put in that bucket?
You mean in terms of what I started to work on, or what the transition was like? Because
just in terms of what you've started to work on, what you've started to learn about yourself, about market, whatever. Just that you mentioned that when you started this process, there was stuff that you didn't know, but you now know about the whole thing, and I'm just kind of curious to dig into that a little bit.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I think, and there's probably a lot of people listening that might be in the same position. When you're fighting to survive, because that's effectively what Yellow Vida was doing for many years, for 5 years, because we're constantly iterating, we're trying to find out what we were, because we had a bit of an identity crisis at Yellow Vida. We didn't know who we were best serving for. Although we focused on dentistry, it was like, what type of marketing were we? We didn't know how to position ourselves. We were kind of taking on clients just because we needed the cash, rather than really evaluating and understanding that this is not a good fit, and the likelihood of success is not that high because of these factors. But we were taking the cash because we needed it. And so when you're in that zone of you're constantly working in the business to survive, there is no time to step back, reflect, and grow as an individual. So you're constantly in this fight mode, this to survive mode. And so what the transition here to DSD helped me do was I started to slow down, and I didn't have to worry about that piece anymore. And then so it kind of started this process of I could slow down, I could start to think, and I could start to evaluate what the state of my life was at that time. And it wasn't a good place, because if now what I do is I kind of try and break my life into 4 main pillars that I want to focus on.
Okay.
And it's rather than yearly goals, it's more like a monthly mission type thing. And so the 4 pillars are balance, being, business, and body. And these 4 areas, I try and develop what's behaviors and habits that reinforce and build on those 4 pillars.
Okay.
And when we made the sale of Yellow Vida to DSD, those 4s were completely lopsided. Business was probably 98% of that balance, right? I was just working the business. I worked 70, 90-hour weeks. So I neglected my body. Definitely no being, in terms of, doing stuff that nurtures kind of my, I'm not into meditation yet, but I found a way to nurture my being.
Yeah.
And then the balance was completely off. I was just working all hours. I wasn't spending time with the family, just because, you're in that survival mode. And so, I think the process was I got a bit of space, and then I started to work my being a lot more. So I started to understand that working hard and making money, because ironically there was a little bit of payback from all that effort. It wasn't a lot, but it was a little bit of, and then I was like, I don't feel any difference. It wasn't the thing that I thought it would be, if that makes sense. So you chase this goal, and then you get it, and you're like, okay, now what? And you're a little bit lost. So I started to work on myself. I started to listen to podcasts and read a lot about kind of what, and it sounds cheesy, but what fulfillment is and happiness. That was the thing that I started. It was as COVID happened as well. So there's a bit more time, and the whole world kind of stopped and said, what is it all about? I was in that mode there, and slowly but surely, I used to work on and become more aware about kind of the 3 the three things that make everything worthwhile, right? It's what we use at DSD, and it's kind of this like the three areas we want every team member to go through to experience what we call meaningful growth. And so I was becoming more aware of this idea of I want meaningful growth, because you've been with me for many years when we worked together, and success and growth was the thing that I wanted for whatever reason. I don't know. To this day, I still don't know. It was just a goal. Didn't have any meaning behind it, but now I understand that the growth is not just in business, but in those four areas. And, it was a period of understanding that piece. Once I understood the three areas that made most sense in terms of meaningful growth, then I could start to work on the gaps that I had. And we can talk about what that is, because that's what I didn't know. So if I was to start again an agency, I would start in a completely different way, because I'd understand the kind of the 6 to 12 things you need to scale a business. And I was completely doing it wrong. And obviously that's why it didn't scale as much as I hoped it would, right? So it'd be interesting if that ever happened again, to try and see if I could make it different with what I know now,
Yeah, hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? And figuring all this stuff out as you go along. I'm curious, right? So you've got these four areas. So you said balance, being, body, and business. I may have got them in a different order. So you've got these four areas, and then you talk about the three keys that you have in DSD to meaningful growth. What are those three keys? Let's complete this picture.
Yeah. So this was I forgot what the book is, and I'll try, and if it comes to me, but there was a book that spoke specifically about fulfillment, and one of the quotes that stuck with me was that, and he used a quote saying, the fulfillment in martial arts is not necessarily the winning the trophy or winning the competition, but it's in the practice of the martial art that you get true kind of fulfillment. And that really stuck with me, because it was like I'd always aimed saying I'll be happy and fulfilled if I can get to that point, that end point in the end road. But it's like, no, actually, if you enjoy what you do every day, then you're in the place, right? And we've all heard it 100,000 times. If you don't have a job that feels like a job, then you're in the right place. So the three areas we've identified that we try and push for our team members, that I push for myself, is autonomy, mastery, and purpose.
Dan Pink's book, Drive.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
Nice. Yeah.
So we want the team, or you want to feel in control on your day-to-day work, right? And if I look back at Jelly Dubs days, and also in the beginning of DSD days, running the team, because we had to build a whole new team in Madrid, the way that I had done things, because I was working in the business and I was at the top, and I thought, and the bio that you introduced actually is an old bio, which my identity was based on problem solving. I was very proud that you could come to me very quickly, and I could look at a situation and I could find a solution for the problem. That was my whole persona. My whole personality was, you come to me, I'll solve your problem. But what I didn't understand at the time was that I was actually holding everybody back, including myself, because then no one takes initiative, no one has autonomy, and they basically just push everything on you, which makes you work harder. You have a higher workload, and you get frustrated with everyone, because you're like, why can't you just do these things? And you train them to say, come to me, because I'll give you an answer in a minute or two. And so I had set up systems that were very controlled. Like we use Asana, and there was like a task with subtasks, which had subtasks, and everything was measured. We used to track the time with the timer. And so we were very, very controlled, and that takes away autonomy. And so people don't feel in control of their day. They just come, there's 100 tasks that they need to get through during the day. They didn't choose it. They didn't figure out the pieces themselves, which is a big part of them feeling happy at work. Then it's people want to feel that they're mastering their role, and that they're growing, and that they're reaching the potential that they feel they can reach their potential. And then they want to do some work that feels like the purpose part. They want to do some work that has an impact. These three areas for DSD are very defined, because the type of work that DSD is doing is work that they'll talk about in 20, 30 years. They're breaking through how dentistry is going to be delivered. And so in 10, 20 years' time, the way DSD does its dentistry is how every dentist will do their dentistry. And so the team that are working at DSD, the purpose is clear, and the impact is going to be measurable and it's going to be big. And so the purpose part is very easy for us because we can communicate that piece to the team, and they feel like they're part of something bigger. They're part of a movement that is helping dentists and is helping patients in the long run. And then the autonomy and the mastery piece was the biggest learning that I had, was this idea that leaders make great leaders, right? And this is the piece that I missed. I was always giving the answers rather than asking the questions and letting the team or the members self-discover the answer themselves. And once I started to do that, I can tell you that the potential of everybody, my input was less and the impact was much bigger because it wasn't down to me. And the team were much happier, much more fulfilled, because now my role is to determine what we need to do. So guys, we need to make this amount of profit this year. And then they figure out the how. And say, okay, it's like the analogy of like, we need to get across the river. And then it's like, that's it. How we get across the river, you guys figure it out. I trust you. And you give the boundaries and you give the framework so that they, but I might think that we need to build a bridge, but they might decide that they're going to build a pontoon or whatever it is. It doesn't really matter to me as long as we can get across the river. And the autonomy and the mastery piece in that for the team is huge. I've seen it with how our team has transformed, because our team had two parts when I took over from DSD. There was a part where it was tightly controlled, where we took all the LOVW systems and we imposed them on everybody. And we used a system called Office Vibe, which is kind of a tool for employee engagement. And it measures 12 areas of employee satisfaction, right? Relationships with peers, your relationship with the manager, compensation. It's a very, very good system. And we started, it was really high because we had this big promise and we were a scaling company, DSD. And then because of our systems and because of the way I was, the score gradually went down. Like it went from 8 out of 10, because I do it out of 10, to about 6 out of 10, which is very low. And that was the time we were like, we need to do something because clearly it's not working. And then we basically said, okay, we're now going to just set the goals and you guys figure it out. And now we're back up at 8.9 or something. So people are super happy. They're growing and they're taking on so much. It's really nice to see. And everybody's super annoyed with me now because I never give a straight answer, unfortunately.
That's really funny.
I've had team members say, just tell us. We know you know, just tell us. And I refuse. I say, no, I think that you can get this. I sometimes ask the questions in a way that the answer to the question is the answer, if that makes sense. You structure the question very well. But becoming a coach is kind of the big thing that is the big aha moment that I had. Two big aha moments in the transition was I needed to work more on the business than in the business. I've heard it 100 times. I went to many business courses. It never stuck with me because I was in that survival mode. But once I started to do that and I started to see the impact, it was huge. And I've been there. People are like, you need to work on the business. I'm like, well, I need the clients to pay me, so I'm going to have to solve the client issues. We have to find the cash. I'm the salesperson. I have to sell. So that's all very good and well, but I'm not going to survive. But I wish I would have listened and said, okay, we need to do this. So how would you have
done that? It's interesting, isn't it? Because it's like it's great having this learning now where you've got the space and, one of the things COVID did was give us space, and you've got the company, you've got the structure, and you can play around with these things. And maybe we'll come back in a minute to the pain of this learning, because I'm curious about that. But you sat in these business seminars, heard that you should work on your business, not necessarily in it, and you're like, yeah, whatever, because, I've got to work 60 hours this week just to pay the bills. So what would your advice be to your older self? Now you're sort of 3 or 4 years in the future, and you can look back and go, Brendon, this is what you need to know, but I'm kind of curious what that would be.
Yeah, there's two parts, right? The first part is if I was, because again, it's a weird thing. It's a momentum thing, right? So by the way, when we sold Yellow Vida and I came to Madrid, I was 50 pounds heavier, right? So just to show you the balance out of
Yeah.
it. So I was tired all the time. I wasn't in great shape. And then I started, because I had time, I started to get in shape, and then I started to have a bit more focus and a bit more energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a weird thing because they all build on each other. So that's where the balance thing comes on. So the first thing I would tell myself is like, listen, you need to address this balance in small micro, like 1% better. That's the way I've been doing it. It's just like you're not going to make everything equal, but you have to start to focus on the body, and you need to do stuff to kind of make sure that you get the optimal kind of outcome out of your body. Because
Yeah.
if you're not in shape, or you're not ready or focused, then the rest is really difficult. And then you start to work on each of those pieces. So the first thing I do is like, there are these 4 areas, work on the balance, look at, like, write down where you are with each one, and try and get the other ones closer to the business part. Because I think most small business owners, or where you're hitting a glass ceiling, is you're focusing on the business a lot, and actually you're suboptimal, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
You can't break through that ceiling. The second thing is, I would probably say, take a table. What really helped me was list all the activities that you classify as working in the business, right? So if you are the main salesperson, if you are the one who has to be client strategy working, you're the one who they call, like, when there's a client has an issue or whatever it is, and you list all those things, and then you put a percentage of how much you do in each business, and then you slowly, and then you have a working on column, and you just be as honest as you can, list it, and then you have your breakdown, and then you just focus on trying to get one of those things across to reduce. Be like, okay, selling, maybe I can't go away from selling, because selling is a very, very important piece. But building the processes, the planning, the training people, can I find somebody in my team that can take this time, so then I don't have to, then I can start to focus on the business. I think that's what I started to do. Biggest one for me personally was building processes. I love building processes, but again, it's the autonomy piece, right? So
Yeah.
if you build the process, the team don't take it on board, then it's not going to stick. They're going to do it. So that was it took a lot of my time. So I took that one out, and I said, guys, this is what we need to do. And then that was it. And so that's what I would start there, because that gives you kind of a blueprint on how you can get more time in your day, because that's all you really need, is the time to kind of look up and look on the horizon. And because sometimes you're just busy, right?
Yeah.
Work.
You become busy fools, don't you, in a lot of ways?
Yeah.
So that's what you tell yourself. I guess my question then, my follow-on question to this, Brendon, is, okay, would Brendon of 5 or 6 years ago listen to what you just said?
It's a good question. Probably not. No, because I wasn't ready. Because I didn't work on my being. And that's what I'm quite fastidious about now, is the way that I do my being. And I'm going to try, but I don't know if it's going to happen. I'm going to try and do a little bit of meditation, that sort of stuff, but it's never stuck with me, to be still and think. But my meditation is learning and constantly reading. So I listen at least every day to a podcast. So on the way to driving this kids to school, and on the way back, it's about 20 minutes each way. So I listen to just podcasts, business podcasts and self-development podcasts, and all kinds of stuff. And then I have the Blinkist app, which summarizes books that help me figure out which. And I'm just constantly learning. I'm part of Section 4. I'd recommend everyone who hasn't to look at Section 4, because especially on business strategy pieces. And then another service called Maven, which is kind of a competitor to Section 4. And they have all these smart people just kind of teaching you business concepts and ideas. And that kind of is how I opened or changed my perspective on a lot of things. And so as I started to listen and read these ideas and concepts of these smart people, I started to see all the gaps that I had, and then I started to apply what they were telling me to, and then I was seeing success, and I was like, wow, this is great. I wish I'd done this earlier. So yeah, probably the first thing to do is start to kind of open your mind. I think being open to new ideas and concepts, right? Because that's one thing that is different is I understand that I know very little, and that I just have to constantly open my mind and
Yeah.
ideas to what people are sharing.
Yeah, that drive, that growth mentality, that desire to
Yes, growth
constantly learn,
mindset.
to be curious. Different people use different language, don't they? But it's the same thing. The constant desire to learn and to grow, I think. But I think, in some respects, Brendan, as long as I've known you, you have always had that. You have consumed more online courses than anyone else I know. if I'm always like with Section 4. I remember sitting down and you would, I'm on Section 4 because you told me about it, right? And it's one of those kind of, it's one of those things where I know that you've been prolific at just absorbing information. And it's good now, actually, listening to you talk, that what you have, it feels like, is a lightness and a capacity to put some of this stuff into practice. Whereas before, you would learn it, but then you would just crack on, and you would pivot and you would change. But it was like, but now it's kind of like, no, I'm starting to realize a little bit more about myself here. Is that a fair reflection?
It is, yeah. I think it's a good. Actually, the growth mindset piece was always something that I knew I had to do. But to be honest, the industry, or then the way that the information was shared, wasn't there yet, because there was the quality of the content that you learn was very hard to find good quality stuff. So there's a lot of noise. In the past, it was very like one man bands, and so you would buy. And I didn't have a lot of money then. You'd buy a course, and then it wouldn't be that great, and you'd be like, oof, But now with Section 4 and Maven, you can find really, really good content, and then it speed ups your process. But it's an interesting thought. I've never thought about that. If I went back to my stressed or my survival self, as I refer to it now, what would I do? Because you have to survive and pay the bills and pay the salaries. But how do you get out of that trap? Because I was lucky, because I was very fortuitous that this kind of DSD came along and helped me buy space and time. But I think probably it would have to be, you need to scale down and find time to develop, which sounds super radical, but I don't know how else to get out of it, because you're kind of stuck in this, got to find the fixed costs every month, and so you just keep going. So it might be.
You do, don't you? And you get trapped in this. It's interesting. I've never yet had a conversation with somebody where they said, "Oh, I'm moving," and they're moving to a smaller house, unless they're like downsizing because the kids have left in their 50s and 60s, or I'm moving to a slightly worse neighborhood. It's like this. The drive for success is always, I need to be in a bigger house, I need to have the newer car, I need to have the better neighborhood, my kids need to be in the best school, I need to go on a better holiday. Do you know what I mean? And there's this constant, whatever defines success for people, do you know what I mean? Whatever it is. And it's that constant drive. And once you're on that treadmill, it's very hard, I think, to then take a step back and go, I need to redefine what success here is at the end. Pull that back, change my thinking for a little bit, and then see what happens. So coming back to this, you've obviously undergone a lot of personal change in the last few years. You've in effect slowed down on that treadmill. Has that been painful? I mean, you're talking about some of the stuff about yourself a bit like, oh, I was like this, but now I'm like this. But those revelations, I don't think are necessarily that easy to swallow, are they?
No, and it's interesting. The first 2 years was painful, because I was having to get used to not being in charge, which was a big thing. It was an ego thing for me, and that was actually the other piece. Was I had an ego before. I suppose when you're a young man, you just naturally have ego, and so a lot of my stress and a lot of my conflict came from just my ego getting in the way. And so being put into an environment where you're forced to keep it in check is healthy, because now my opinion was one of 10. And I was like, very like, this is the right way. I know this is the right way. And then other people have different perspectives and different views and different cultures. And it kind of forced me to work on that, because I would come home very frustrated and really like, this is not going to work. I can't handle this. This is ridiculous. Like, why don't they just do this thing? And they're not listening to me. And in the end, it was, well, you need to, if you feel so strongly about this point, you're going to have to position it correctly. You're going to have to improve your communication skills. You're going to have to understand the impacts with the pros and the cons. So you have to build an argument. Before, I didn't have to build an argument. And then guess what? When you build an argument, some 50% of your ideas are not good. If probably more. So there was a book that, and I'm sure you've heard of it, it's called Radical Candor, and that transformed our team's communication when we started to do that. This idea of direct feedback in a high caring way. And so now I tend, because I do a course once a week now. So before it was once maybe a month. Now it's once a week, maybe 2 a week. I just have specific times, and I just, like I said, that's my being piece. It's not even I'm trying to learn something new. It's a form of meditation for me to acquire new ideas and concepts. So I come to the team with a lot, right? And now we're in a place where they can challenge me directly, and they don't feel awkward or upset about it, and they really show the blind spots of what I see, because obviously in my position, I have blind spots because I don't do the work on a day-to-day basis. And so, I would say about 30% of the stuff that I bring forward, we move forward in some way, but a lot slower than we used to do before, which is also useful because it's super disruptive to constantly change things. And I'm not building the process anymore. I'm kind of in a mode where we have a channel. We use Rocket Chat, which is like a Slack alternative. I've created a channel. And so I agreed with the team. I just put everything there and why I think it's a good idea with the managers and the leaders. There's only 3 or 4 of them. And then, because I was kind of burning everybody with new ideas. And then we let it like stew there. And then I get it out, it's there. And I don't hassle, because telling everybody every week about a new concept or idea, it's too much. It's just too much. That's the thing. But I needed a place to put it, so that's kind of how I handle it.
Yeah, no, that's great.
It was super painful. I think had lots of conflict, lots of arguments with lots of people and the managers, and basically ended up understanding that most of the time it was my issue, it was my fault, and I was being unreasonable. And we just had open kind of dialogue between the leadership and the managers and the team, where they tell me that I was being unreasonable, which I was most of the time, or they didn't understand why I was the way that I was, upset or frustrated, because my personality is one that you can never tell what I'm feeling. So I'm quite detached. So they don't know if I'm mad or happy or sad or angry at them or not. It's just so they were like, we just don't get it. Why are you upset? Or why are you angry? I'm like, I'm not angry. I'm not at all. I don't share. I'm not an open book, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so now they understand that about me. That it's also much better as well. So they don't assume that I'm feeling something. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. I think it's really powerful, mate, and such a wonderful and lovely story when you talk about these were the problems and predominantly it was on me. That takes humility. And it's not something that you see a lot these days, because normally people go, there's a problem, it's your fault, you need to fix it for me. Do you know what I mean? Or you need to change this, or you need to change that. There are very few people, I think, out there that go, there's a problem, how much of that can I own? And it's a different mindset, and it's wonderful to see. Mate, listen, we have got to the stage of the podcast, and there's a lot of conversation I feel like we could go into, but I'm aware of time. So we have got to that section of the podcast, which I call question box. And if you're watching on the video, I hope you're enjoying these state-of-the-art graphics. So this is where I take a whole bunch of random questions out of a box. I don't even know who wrote these questions. I can't even remember how they appeared on my desk. But anyway, say stop. I will stop at that question, and then we'll find out what your answer is. Okay. If I read this question, I'm trying to think, how would Brendon actually answered this question? I don't actually know, so I'm going to ask it. If you could own one piece of art, what would it be?
Oof.
That's a really hard question. I think it's a really hard question.
I'm into NFTs, so please don't judge me. I'm into NFTs.
Okay.
And because I see them as the next form of fundraising kind of vehicles. There is a series of NFTs which are called the Board Monkeys, and I would want one of those. Those are pretty rare, and so yeah, it's that's my space. I'm not that cultural, so the digital NFT is my thing.
Of course it would be an NFT. Of course it would be digital. Why would I expect anything different? And I was thinking, he's not gonna, I can't think of any artist or these ever mentioned. A sculpture, no, I can't think of anything. How's he going to answer this question? Of course he's going to go digital. That's really interesting.
The being piece is, it's never to go to museums or stuff.
Yeah. No, we had a lady called Chris Ivers on the podcast, and her whole being is just like, I need to go hang out in art galleries. That was the whole thing. And so I'm kind of curious what the answer for her, that question would be. But for you, it's just no. I'm going to do an online course. It's funny. I love the fact that people are wired differently, and it makes everybody's story different. And I genuinely love that about humanity. So, Brendon, as you know, this show is sponsored by Aurea Media, right, which specializes in helping folks like your good self set up and run their own podcast. So I'm kind of curious, right, if you had your own podcast, out of the people that have impacted your life, past, present, who would be on your guest list and why? Well,
it sounds like we set this up, but I think you would definitely be on my guest list. And because we didn't mention it, but you helped us a lot. There were because obviously you joined us in our journey with Yellow Vida, and you bought us time as well. We, at that time we also kind of and that's kind of where you say, what would you do differently? I don't think I'd do anything differently, because before you came along, I had less time. Then you came along, we had a little bit more time, and then DSD came, and then so it was all part of that process. So definitely you. And I'm very interested in understanding the statements of the whole being greater than the sum of the parts. The understanding what is that secret sauce? What's the X factor that when you take things individually, they are valuable, but when you put them together in a certain way, there's a lot more value in that. So I would be interested in my industry specifically, I'd want to interview all the people that I see have successful businesses, dental clinics specifically. I'd just like to understand on the key parts of the business what they did, to understand if there is kind of a common thread of because everybody has the same materials, has the same processes or same pillars that they have to focus on, and something that they've done has made them more valuable than the others.
That's really interesting. It's interesting, that whole synergistic thing, isn't it? And you're all right. That desire. How in the world have you? And that's part of the reason why I love this show. You get to pick people's brains, and you kind of go, "How did you do what you do?" That's really interesting. Yeah. So, Brendon, listen, thank you so much, bud, for being on the podcast. I managed to record this conversation this time, which is super, super helpful, and everyone's listening to it. And if they want to reach out, connect with you, what is the best way to do that?
The best way is just to message me on LinkedIn, I think. So just find me. It's just Brendon Macdonald, as you can see on the title graphic there. And just reach out if you want to understand my journey, or if you need some help. I have failed at many things, and I've tried almost anything. So please, if I can help someone miss one of those failures, I'll be a happy person. So
give me both. You and me both. I just tell people I've failed more times than I've succeeded, but it's just that my successes far outweigh my failures, which is the reason why I'm here, which is a beautiful thing. And I'm very grateful for that.
Exactly.
Brilliant. Thanks, mate. Thank you for joining us. And we will, of course, link to your information, to Brendon's information in the show notes, which you can get along for free, along with the transcript from today at pushtobemore.com, or it will go direct to your inbox if you are subscribed to the emails newsletters or email newsletters. Just pick one. It's awesome. Brendon, you are a legend. Thank you for joining me, my friend.
Thank you, Matt. I enjoyed it.
Oh, it's been great. What a great conversation. Huge thanks again to Brendon for joining me. And also a big shout out to today's show sponsor, Aurion Media. If you do wonder whether podcasting is a good marketing strategy for your business, do connect with them at aurionmedia.com, AURION media.com. Of course, you'll find the link on the website, pushtobemore.com as well. Be sure to follow our podcast, Push to Be More, wherever you get your podcasts from, because we have even more great conversations lined up, just like today. And I don't want you to miss any of them. And in case no one has told you yet today, I need to find the button on my thing. I think it's this one. Yes! Woohoo! You are awesome. Sorry. That's right. It's just a burden you have to bear. It is. Brendon has to bear this burden. I have to bear it. You have to bear it too. We're just awesome people. Now, Push to Be More is produced by Aurion Media. You can find our entire archive of episodes on your favorite podcast app. The team that makes this show possible is Sadaf Bain and Josh Catchpole, Estella Robin and Tim Johnson. Our theme music was written by Josh Edmondson. And as I mentioned, the transcript and show notes are available on our website, pushtobemore.com, where you can also sign up for the weekly newsletter and get all of this good stuff direct to your inbox totally free. That's it from me. That's it from Brendon. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a fantastic week. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.